if Giannis doesn't have a monster game and somebody else besides him doesn't step up, Boston is just going to out-talent them.
All right, yeah, so that was a very hot take from Paul Pierce, but we're going to get into the whole demise of the Boston Celtics and a whole lot more in this week's episode of the Heated Sports Podcast. So welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us here for another week. Quick change of routine here. We're actually going to be posting on Tuesday nights from here on out, so if you're used to us posting every Monday night, we're just pushing that a day later. So we're going to be here every Tuesday night from here on out. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to keep the episodes around the same time between that half hour to 45-minute slot. So, yeah, we're just going to get right into what we got going here for this week. Starting off, we have a lot of heated questions that we got submitted once again, so thank you for everyone who submitted their questions. We're not going to be able to get through all of them once again because we're just getting a big fluctuation of questions, but we're just going to get started. A lot of them were pertain to Kyrie Irving. Again, kind of getting right into that Boston Celtics topic. A lot of questions pertaining to, is Kyrie staying? If he leaves, where's he going? The biggest speculation is that he might go to the Lakers, with rumors of him and LeBron kind of patching things up. One question specifically said, will that ruin his career if he goes to LA? And I mean, it's definitely not a good look. I really don't think he should do it, and if he does, I don't even think they'll be that successful. Yes, they might have that chemistry and everything, but if he goes to LA, that's just a horrible look on his legacy as a NBA basketball player. Just with all, I think all people forget the drama that surrounded that whole issue when they were in Cleveland. He literally just flat out demanded a trade. He said, I'm not playing next year. If I stay on this team with LeBron, I do not want to play with him anymore. And that's not something that can just be resolved by a quick phone call and just everybody's going to forget about it and think it's all good. I think if he goes there, it's not going to be a good look. LA fans, they'll probably like it, but at the end of the day, they're going to need at least another legitimate piece to make that Lakers team successful. And in general, I don't think he's going to stay in Boston. He's been pretty much 1 foot out the door the entire season, or at least the back half of this past season, so he's definitely gone. I think Brooklyn and the New York Knicks are going to be two teams to look out for. I think there's a good shot he'll go to New York between one of those two teams, so it'll be pretty interesting to see. I definitely think if the Knicks get Zion, I think that's the big tell. I think KD and Kyrie both have some interest in the Knicks, so if it happens, it happens, and we'll just kind of have to wait and see what Kyrie wants to do. One other big thing I wanted to bring up, a topic that got brought up to me, Klay Thompson, right? Klay Thompson, one of the Splash Brothers, Golden State Warriors member, all that good stuff. Klay Thompson, one of my personal favorite players in all of NBA basketball, was brought to my attention that he apparently went to see Avengers Endgame, right? Biggest movie in history, blah, 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 Avengers Endgame. He was bored. Apparently, he went to see this movie, and he got up and left an hour early. And I think that is the most blasphemous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. If you know me in any capacity, I'm a huge Marvel fan, and I think this is just the craziest thing ever. Like, I've lost all respect for Klay Thompson. Like, that's probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And if I'm sitting in that theater, I don't care how many NBA championships this guy won. If he's standing in front of me, blocking the screen to leave, I'm throwing my soda at him. Like, that's literally how it's going to go down. And sorry, Klay Thompson, but I'm not buying your jersey, which I was planning to do at some point. But, you know, it's a wrap. That's by far the most ridiculous thing ever. And I lost a lot of respect for that guy. I'm not going to lie. So if that's news to you guys, I say boycott everything that has to do with Klay Thompson after hearing that news. So that's my little rant about Klay Thompson, so we're not going to get into any more details after that. But another question, the last one I'm going to address here is, will Tiger Woods win another major? So we're kind of hitting a lot of different topics here with the questions, but I like this one a lot. And obviously the just overall just news and just hype surrounding Tiger Woods after winning this last major. Will he win another one? It's definitely possible. But I really wait. My biggest thing is consistency and trying to find the best phrasing for that. I need to see consistency before I join the hype train, essentially. So yes, Tiger Woods played lights out this last major, but I'm not full force. I'm not on the Tiger train just yet. Show me some consistency. Keep playing up at that level for the next few tournaments, and then I'll kind of just join that hype train 100%. Will he win another major in his career? Absolutely. I mean, he definitely has some solid years left, assuming he stays healthy, but I mean, if we're being completely honest, I don't think he's back to being that number one golfer in the entire world. I heard on some radio shows okay, next majors, are you taking Tiger or the field? People are acting like Tiger's now like the Golden State Warriors of golf. I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I mean, there's so many good, young, talented golfers that are out there right now. I'm taking the field every single time if that would come up, and that's some legitimate odds. But again, will he win another major in his career? I think there's definitely a good possibility, but overall hype train, am I on that with Tiger Woods right now? I'd probably say no, but again, if I see a little bit more consistency in these next couple tournaments, I'm all for it. Again, so that's all the heated questions I'm going to address here. Again, thank you for everybody who submitted those. And yeah, that's going to be a weekly thing. If you've been tuning in, you know we've been addressing your questions every single week. So we put out several posts throughout the week just for you, to give you guys a chance to submit your topics and questions. So be sure to keep doing that for a chance to get on next week's episode. Next up here, like we said last week with our new format, I'm going to be addressing a few of the previous week's heated sports articles that we put out on our website. Again, if you haven't checked those out, we have a website, basically like a blog website, www.heated-sports.com. And that's pretty much where we have a lot of articles. We have 3 to 4 articles going up every single week. And I mean, on that website, you can also contact us with several suggestions and things like that. We also have a page for our podcast. So if you want to check out previous episodes, you can do that on our website or just going on our YouTube channel, which you're watching this on now. But yeah, so I mean, feel free to check out those articles. We have them categorized by sports as well. So if you have a love for football more than anything else, just click on the football tab and that'll take you to all of our football specific articles. But we have a lot of content on there, so make sure you check it out. So I'm just going to dive into a few of them here. So Zach, one of our main writers who will actually be on the show here a little later, he wrote about the Mexico series in the MLB. So if you're not a big baseball fan, the MLB has a Mexico series every single year where a few teams will play down in the country or in the country of Mexico for a three to 4 game series. So this year it was the Astros and the Angels. And if you weren't aware or haven't been following us too long, we made some early MLB predictions once the season started about a month ago, and the Astros were my World Series pick. I love the Astros, and I think that they have really good potential. They have really good chemistry and everything. So the Astros played lights out in that series. They pretty much just handled the Angels that entire stretch, and the Angels are playing just personally how I expected them to play in that series, and just overall average. That's literally that's just the plain flat word that I'm going to be using to describe the Angels this whole season. Yes, Mike Trout's there. Yes, Mike Trout is the best player in all of baseball, but that's it. You have the aging Albert Pujols, who we've actually touched on in last week's episode, and yes, he's great, and yeah, he's going to go down as a legend. But all in all, the Angels are an average baseball team, and they're going to fill the seats. They're going to bring in the fans just surrounding Trout and Pujols. You have Ohtani there as well, who was a huge prospect coming out of Japan last year. He's back and healthy now, but the Angels are going to be an average baseball team, and it's kind of tough to see going forward them making any significant improvements. But overall, that was a good series. It was a lot of hype for the MLB season and the MLB brand in particular. Got a lot of hype down in Mexico. Yeah, again, the Astros took care of business against the Angels, but going forward, we'll just have to kind of pay attention. The Astros have been surging so far. They're taking care of that division. Mariners have like pretty much completely fallen off. It's going to be the Astros division for the taking from here on out. Moving on, just another article that was posted here last week. Our NFL writer Kevin, who's also going to be on the show here a little later, he put out an article talking about the top steals of the NFL draft. If you're not aware, the NFL draft just wrapped up here a few weekends ago. So all the teams got their fresh new players. Rookie minicamp actually started this past week. So we've gotten a quick glimpse of all the rookies here starting with their new teams. One of the guys that Kevin highlighted on that I'm going to agree with here a good bit is Hakeem Butler. And that's a wide receiver that went to the Arizona Cardinals in the 4th round. And we've actually all here at Heated Sports been hyping this guy up for a while. This draft had a really stacked wide receiver class, and Hakeem Butler is just a huge talent, and for some reason he fell all the way to the 4th round. And I mean, he didn't have the strongest combine, if I'm being honest, and again, with this wide receiver class being so stacked, he kind of dropped a little bit, but that was an absolute steal in the 4th round. That's going to be a great young piece to grow with rookie Kyler Murray, who, newsflash, was the #1 overall pick. So having that quarterback and wide receiver duo being able to grow together and just learn from each other and build off each other in that Arizona Cardinals locker room, I think is going to be huge for both of them. The other one I'm going to talk about here a little bit that Kevin highlighted was Greedy Williams going to Cleveland, and that was another pretty big steal, I think. Cleveland snatched him up. They actually traded up in the 2nd round to get him late, or I think like mid to late 2nd round. And Greedy Williams was one of the top cornerback prospects in this draft this year. The main reason why he fell off a little bit was just because of his tackling, and his combine really didn't end up being the greatest, but all in all, this kid's fast, and I think he's going to be lights out in Cleveland. That's a very young and growing defense. And overall, I mean, it's going to be great to see. I think that Cleveland team just added a few more really key pieces, and that's going to be a really nice young offense and defense to watch here going forward. Also, shout out to my Pittsburgh Steelers because they got Michigan State cornerback Justin Lane, who I love very much, and I think that was a really good steal, snagging him in the 3rd round. So they kind of had him up there, projected to go in the second round, but they got him late in the third round, which I absolutely love. So I'm shouting him out as well. Again, I'm not going to address this one too much, but we do have Harrison as well. You've seen him on previous episodes. He puts out basketball articles pretty much every single week, so we're right in the heat of the playoffs, so he puts out a lot of articles addressing that. We had 2 Game 7 matchups here that happened this past Sunday, so he kind of touched on those in his most recent article. So if you want to keep up to date on all things NBA, make sure, again, click that basketball tab that you see on our website with our heated blog segment, and that'll take you to all of his NBA basketball articles, so be sure to check those out as well. And yeah, so that's my little beginning segment here. So let me know if there's any other topics you'd like to see on next week. Right now we have Zach and Kevin. We're going to bring in one-on-one. So right now we're going to take a quick break. We're going to transition and bring Zach in on the show, and we'll get started with him. We'll be right back, guys. All right, welcome back, everybody. And we got Zach, so it's good to have you back, man. I'll say you missed a week or two, so we got you on. We're going to talk, honestly, we're going to talk about a variety of different things here. So first off, I want to get into a little bit of Sixers. I don't want to go crazy because currently Game 7 just started, so we're trying to wrap this up to watch Game 7. Yeah. So I don't want to talk about like potential future or anything because then it just won't look as right, obviously, if we're wrong or we're assuming wrong. But what I do want to bring up, or what we can, is the future of Brett Brown because he's on the hot seat pretty much. I mean, I'm not really totally on board with that. I think Brett Brown's a pretty good coach, but I mean, if they lose this Game 7 and they're done, like, is Brett Brown done? You kicking him out of town? I
don't think so, honestly. I think if they would have lost like 4-1 or something like that, and like only managed to win like 1 or 2 games, they would have been fired.
Yeah.
But he's been sticking by Joel Embiid and his teammates and sticking up for them during this entire series in media. So I think Philly has definitely got his back, and I think Elton Brand and the ownership has really looked into it, and it's going to keep him next year, at least next year. I don't know about the year after that, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's like interesting because I don't know. Like, I'm very like I kind of compare this to like me and like my feelings with Mike Tomlin because like I don't like Mike Tomlin. Like, if I'm being completely honest, but like at the same time, how many guys are out there that you could get that would be better than Mike Tomlin?
Exactly.
Like Mike Tomlin is like a good coach. I'm not going to knock him for being a bad coach. But, like, say they fire Mike Tomlin, there's not many guys that I could think of that I would rather have on, like, coaching my team. And same with Brett Brown. I mean, Brett Brown, yes, I mean, obviously if they win this series, then, like, he's staying. Like, that's a
definitely
huge win in Game 7 in Toronto. But assuming they don't and they get knocked out in the second round, like, I don't know. Like, yes, I think the Philly has his back. I think the management and ownership has his back. But at the same time, like, you have a core team that should be ready to win big games right now. And I think they should have handled the Raptors in games – I don't know. Like, I think they should have, seeing how the series played out, I think they should have won this series before 7 games. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think the Philly does have his back. But, yeah, I don't think I'd be upset if they fired him necessarily. It would just kind of depend on who would actually be interested, like who they'd be able to get to replace him. That's my biggest concern, I think, if that would end up happening.
I think if they fired him this year, I'd be more upset because not only is like the coaching vacancy, the talent isn't really there. Like Ty Lue's still out there, but I don't think he's gonna come to Philly.
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
I wouldn't want Ty Lue. Like if those are my options, I'm keeping Brett Brown every single time.
But I would definitely take Jason Kidd. I know he's an assistant now to the Lakers, but like he is a like young to like older kind of guy. He's like in between. He can like lead Ben and get him a shot. Like Jason Kidd's shot wasn't the best, but like he's still a great point guard.
Oh yeah.
And he'd
be like a player's coach.
Yeah, he's played he's played against Jimmy Butler. Like he knows how like when Jimmy Butler's like a rookie or like his beginning years, but like he's like a player's coach essentially. He can help the team, I think.
Yeah.
Especially how young they are.
I mean, he got hired to that assistant role. It seems like what Stephen A. said. Like Stephen A. went on this big rant the night that
2 years. Yep.
Vogel got hired, Jason Kidd got hired as the assistant. Like they were adamant about giving their head coach hire a 3-year contract, and in that 3 years, it seems like Jason Kidd's going to be the next man up. I mean, they basically had 2 requirements in the Lakers head coach search. It was you had to be on a 3-year deal, which is why Ty Lue was out the door, who was my big prediction and what I thought was going to happen. But Ty Lue wanted more than 3 years. Lakers were saying no way. And they had to hire Jason Kidd. Whether Ty Lue or whoever they were interviewing wanted it or not, Jason Kidd had to be on the coaching staff. And, I mean, if I'm being interviewed as a head coach, like, I don't want to be told who's going to be on my staff. Like, I'm open to, like, suggestions and, like, talking to people. But, like, if I'm sitting there in an interview and they're saying you have to take this many years, you have to have these people on your coaching staff, like, I don't want to be in an organization like that. But I mean, Frank Vogel seemed like not apparently, but like he wanted to be back in the league. I feel like he deserved to be back in the league, but it seems like Jason Kidd's going to be the next man up for them, whether Vogel likes it or not at the end of the day.
Well, I just think, like you said, he's back in the league. Like, that's a big part. Like, he has a job now again.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
He came from the Magic. They didn't really do anything there.
I say he was decent with the Pacers. Like
he had great years with the Pacers.
He made it to the playoffs. He won some playoff series with the Pacers, but obviously, the run, what was like 2 years with the Magic, 2-3 years.
Yeah,
they obviously didn't work out very well, but. I mean, we'll wait and see. I mean, going back to Brett Brown, like I definitely would be happy if he stayed, but at the same time, not totally upset if he's gone. I think it's shocking that he's on the hot seat regardless, if I'm being completely honest. But I mean, Philly in general is brutal. Like the fans are gonna get on you, the management's gonna get on you. Like especially with this team they have, like they're all in on this year. Like this year, and like. I mean, I'd say the next couple of years, but there's so many free agents that are going to have to get paid if they want to keep this team.
Yeah.
And going into next year, but I mean, they're in a win now situation. So I mean, any team that's in a win now situation, if you don't win, then the coach is going to be on the hot seat. So.
Well, I think the only player we need to worry about is Jimmy Butler, because I know he likes Philly. And Philly loves him, obviously, but like I think
with how he's playing in the playoffs,
exactly,
right now,
he's been stepping up. But I think Harris, he'll definitely take a pay cut. Like he just seems like that kind of guy. Yeah. Who's all for the team and that's it. And Butler's obviously the opposite.
See, I don't know. Like people are saying like Tobias is going to get top money like somewhere.
I don't think
so. I mean, I could see it happening, but like why?
Not a max.
Like Tobias Harris is good, but like he's not a max player.
5 teams in like 6 years he's been on.
Yeah, he's not. Like, he's by no means. He's not a
superstar.
He's not deserving of a max contract. But I mean, teams overpay and teams have money. If they want Tobias Harris, they'll pay to get him. I'm sure someone will, but. Will that team be as good as what the Sixers could be? Most likely not. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it depends on if he's willing to take that pay cut or not. I'm going to transition here a little bit. We're going to talk about a little bit of baseball. Like I mentioned earlier, you put out that baseball article about the Mexico series. So just a few notes I have. I mean, we're just going to talk about the Rays. The Rays are still winning that division right now with the stacked division in the American League with Boston and New York. But both of those guys are climbing right now. Between the Yankees and Boston, how they're playing right now, which one do you think has the best chance of winning that division, or do you think the Rays will actually stick it out for the long haul and kind of take it over?
No, I think I said in the beginning I think the Red Sox take the division, but I think that's still true just because the Yankees have injuries. Like Judge is out, Stanton's out, like all their power's out, and then Severino, whatever the pitcher, he's out too. So I think that's hurting them for like this part. But Boston's coming back; they're going to take the division, and Tampa Bay's going to win the wild card, first wild card.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you in some sense. I could easily see those 3 teams making the playoffs, and in terms of like both of them taking the wild cards potentially. I'm still up on the Yankees. Yeah, they're injured now, but if that team is healthy all at once for like even like the back like third of the season or like back half of the season, like that team's gonna be like legit World Series contenders, I think. But it's all going to come down to health. And I don't like relying on health or like potential health, especially when it's the opposite and the players are currently injured and you have to rely on all them to all be healthy at the same time. But we'll kind of have to wait and see. Another note from the season right now is that currently the Minnesota Twins, yes, the Minnesota Twins are the best team in baseball. And I think we can both agree, yes, quote unquote best team in baseball. Because on paper, looking at their record, they are the best team in baseball. But I mean, I don't think that's going to hold up.
No.
I mean, you made the comparison before we started recording to the Mariners, how everyone was all hype on the Mariners.
Yep.
Yes, boom, 2 weeks into the season, they're just blowing everybody out of the water. But look at them now. I think they're like 5 or 6 games out of that division
Houston's
behind the
taking over.
Astros. Like, I could definitely see the same thing happening. I mean, that's a tough division that they're in as well. So, I mean, you got any notes on that? I mean, you're probably like right there with me. It sounds like just that they're really not going to hold it off. I don't even think like for a potential wild card spot they could be in the hunt for a while. But
maybe the second one. I don't think the first one they can even like touch. Not with the Rays, but
I'm trying to pull up like the division standings here. So yeah, I mean the main team right now.
It's a weak division too.
I'll say it's definitely a weaker division. I mean, I picked the Indians to win that division, which I'd say probably like 75% of people like baseball fans would have picked them up. Would have picked them. But yeah, I mean, they're hovering like right over 500 right now. So the Twins have a 5-game lead, but at the same time, I mean, I could definitely see the Indians kind of just not running away with it. I think it'll be a closer division than what people will think, but the Indians are a very talented team still. They have a very talented pitching staff and a very talented bullpen. Even after losing Andrew Miller, their bullpen is still one of the top in the American League. So it'll be interesting, but yeah, I think we can both agree that I don't think the Twins will be able to keep it up for a full season. And yeah, one of your World Series picks that we made back a few weeks ago. The Cubs are just walk-off after walk-off, win after win. The Cubs are just completely just
Chris Bryant's coming
everywhere.
back.
It's
great.
insane. I love it. I mean, I've made it known. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast a few times. I mean, the Cubs are probably like my second favorite team behind Philly. Love Javier Baez. Like he's probably one of my favorite players in the league, other than Mike Trout. But yeah, him, Chris Bryant, Schwarber. I loved all those guys. We got to watch that amazing World Series run they had a few years ago,
2016. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm always in the back of my mind. I'm always rooting for the Cubs. So I like to see it. They were playing just terrible baseball at the beginning of the season, but I mean now they're starting to pick it up.
It's like the Red Sox.
Exciting wins, like just walk-off win after walk-off win. Contreras just hit that walk-off homer.
Yeah.
Well, like the 13th or the 15th inning, I think it was. So. Long but exciting baseball,
exactly.
Nonetheless. So, and yeah, I mean, obviously baseball's a long season, so we're still kind of in the very beginnings of it. But we'll definitely be talking a lot more baseball as the season progresses, especially after the NBA wraps up, because that's a pretty big topic for us right now.
Heart of the season is after the NBA season.
Oh, definitely. I mean, once the All-Star
soon.
break hits in July, then everything after that, yeah, because that's pretty much all there is right now. I mean, once NHL and NBA wraps up, it's just baseball for the next couple months, so it's exciting.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, so last thing we'll touch on is I'm just going to pick up your Redskins a little bit. So we talked already a few weeks ago when you were on just them snagging Haskins, which actually Kevin highlighted in his biggest steals article because not many people thought Haskins would last that long.
Definitely not.
Absolutely, like people figured either the Giants were going to take him at 6 or a team would have had to trade up to go and get him, but obviously, we know now the Giants chose Jones for reasons we aren't really sure of yet.
Manning, that's all.
Yeah, the Manning influence got to him for sure. But, I mean, obviously you're happy with Haskins. Again, we went over that a few weeks ago. But a notification came out that the Washington Redskins are actually going to have an open quarterback competition. And they even threw Colt McCoy's name into that mix as well. So you got Case Keenum, you got Haskins, you got Colt McCoy in a quarterback competition. Might just be a 2-man race, but Gruden's making it sound like a 3-man race. So, I mean, what was your reaction when you saw that? And, like, what would you want to see happen as the season starts up?
When I got the notification, I was so happy to see it. I think Haskins should be starting week 1.
Yeah.
I know how you feel about starting behind a veteran presence, but the only way you learn is just making the mistakes yourself. And I think a good example of this is Josh Rosen. He made mistakes himself for the Cardinals. Now he's onto a new team, new year. It's going to be better this year. I'm telling you right now.
Still hate Josh. I just hate
I know you don't like him, but like he's going to show the people that he can play football.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he's on a worse team, like a not a good team.
You can say worst team.
Yeah.
As hard as it is to downgrade from the Cardinals, he downgraded to the Dolphins. I mean, I'm just going to be completely honest. Like, all those, like, it was disappointing because, like, I mean, I talk a lot of crap on Rosen, but, like, at the back of my mind, like, I'm still, like, going to root for him in a sense because, like, this team, the Cardinals basically moved on from him after one lackluster season, but looking at, like, the other teams that were interested in him, like, I think everyone would have been a better fit than the Dolphins. Like the Patriots, Chargers, and the Giants were, like, those 3 key teams that were interested, and I think that fit, like, a fit in either one of those 3 organizations would have been better than the Dolphins. But I mean, that's just going to go to my argument. Like, I love when quarterbacks are able to learn under a veteran for at least like a year or two. Like, I'm not saying do what Rodgers did and like sit behind Favre for like 3-4 years or however long it was. But I mean, obviously Favre's one of the greats, but like I think Case Keenum is at the bare minimum an average NFL quarterback, and he can win some games and he's capable of playing in the NFL. So, I mean, take that first year, learn the system, master the system, not just learn it, master the system, master the playbook, get to know the coaching staff, and learn under an NFL veteran for a year or two. Again, I mean, if Case Keenum completely craps the bed like the first half of the season, then, I mean, I'm all for throwing him in. But if we're looking at week 1, like, there's no need to rush a rookie into it. And no knock on the Redskins. With that division that they're in the NFC East,
tough.
like that, they're not. I don't think they're going to win that division this year. Like you're in a situation where you're still rebuilding. You got your franchise quarterback, but there's still other pieces you need to put in place. So I mean, take that first year or two while you're still rebuilding. Get your guy, because he is obviously their guy now. Learn the system, learn under the veteran, and then kind of get it rolling after that. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're gonna give him some competition. Basically, that's like confidence for all of them. That's gonna light a fire under Keenum. Just saying, hey, yeah, you got 2 young guys. If you add McCoy into the mix too, like you got 2 young guys who want to start in the NFL. They want to take your spot. Like step up. Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of where the Redskins are at. 2 conflicting opinions. I mean, from like a fan's perspective, I was trying to think how to word that. Like from a fan's perspective, like if I'm in your shoes, I want to see him on the field as fast as possible. So I can see what you're saying, and I don't think he would be awful if he's like in the NFL right away. again, that's just always kind of been my
Yeah.
opinion, just getting the young guys to learn a little bit before throwing them right into the league. But
It just reminds me of the Cardinals from last year, honestly. Like, you have
Yeah.
Sam Bradford
Yeah.
aging, not really playing that well. He starts the first 4 games of the year, gets his job taken over, which I would not be upset seeing. Just saying, like, Case Keenum
like
could
having
start
Keenum first and then
first 4,
Haskins
like,
after
a
that,
quarter of
yeah.
the year. Like,
They start like 2 and 3.
yeah,
2 and 4,
exactly.
something like that.
Like, don't give all the problems over to Haskins at least.
Yeah,
That's what that's like the worst thing that you can do.
Just throwing him into an ugly situation.
Yeah, like an 0-4 start and like the worst team in the league, whatever. But like, even if he does start, I'm even excited. But like you said, after listening, I think after Keenum starting like 4 games, which would be great for Haskins. He learns the first 4 like quarter of the season, how it goes, traveling and everything, and then he can just play from there.
Yeah, just get started from there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so, I mean, I can definitely see that. If I'm going off a most likely scenario, I would say it's probably that, like a combination of the two. Not sitting him the whole year, maybe not pushing him in right away. I think it'll come down to
It's
the
like ease
preseason
into
as
it,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that's where we're going to wrap it up with Zach, man. So thanks for coming
Yeah,
on,
thank you.
giving your 2 cents on
Definitely.
everything. We're going to do one more transition here, guys. We're going to get Kevin on. We're just going to talk a lot more NFL stuff, building off of his article that I mentioned already. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll get Kevin in on here.
Sounds
So
good.
we'll be right back, guys. All right, thanks for your patience, guys. We're back now. We have Kevin here in the studio with us. Kevin's been I'll say, if you haven't watched the previous episodes, Kevin's been on here a couple times, and he's just been our main football guy. So he does a lot of NFL articles, NFL analysis for us, and I mentioned his article he put out last week, just talking about the biggest sleepers from the NFL draft. So I didn't say your number 1 pick or your number 1 sleeper. So tell us who that is, and then we'll talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, number 1 sleeper from the draft. Honestly, surprising myself when I said this is DK Metcalf. I mean, the guy dropped to basically the 3rd round, last pick of the 2nd round. And before the draft, I called him a bust, literally more than anyone else. But
Yeah,
I think that
you talked a lot of smack on him.
I
for
really
sure.
did, especially when it was drafted 5 overall in our mock draft. But
Yeah,
I mean,
a little steep in our mock draft. But
the Seahawks, they have to be the perfect destination for him. I think he's going to have a great opportunity there, and just overall getting him where they got him and his potential of the receiver that he could turn into.
Oh, like he's definitely the biggest like boom or bust
Yeah, for
talent,
sure.
I think. Like it could definitely go one of both ways. Doug Baldwin's gone too.
Yeah, I know,
They
it's
cut Doug
crazy.
Baldwin, so I mean Metcalf's going to be a crucial part of that offense.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't have a lot of receiving options. They have Tyler Lockett, but I mean, he's like a 5 reception a game type of guy. He's not going to be getting like those 10+ catches. Haven't had a tight end since Jimmy Graham left. They still don't really have one in place. And then besides that, no really big receiving threats. So I think Metcalf really will have an immediate impact or an immediate opportunity to make an impact. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do with it.
I agree with some people were saying like first play of the season. I think it's easily just going to be Russell Wilson deep shot to Metcalf.
I hope.
Just a couple deep attempts right off the bat. Like just make his presence known. I mean, he's just a freak of nature in terms of just like his athleticism, but the route running is going to have to improve. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why he fell so far.
Yeah.
My opinion, I still think he fell a lot farther than he should have, but some people are saying like there were some injury concerns there too, like some injury history, but I don't know all the details about that. But I mean, I definitely think he'll benefit with Russell Wilson in Seattle a whole lot,
Yeah.
and Pete Carroll and the rest of the coaching staff there. So
Russell Wilson's the biggest thing there. The quarterback that's going to be throwing him the ball.
yeah.
It's insane.
I'll say that the potential for like the chemistry for those two, I think, especially like from here on out, like obviously Russell Wilson's not going anywhere with his new contract, so they'll be around for a while, so it'll be huge.
Yeah, that's why I considered him, or why I was projecting him to be a bust, because a lot of the teams might take him as like the Bills, maybe the Jaguars, just possibly the Ravens too. And it's like if he goes to the Ravens, it's gonna suck.
No quarterbacks.
No
to,
Russell
like,
Wilson.
build with. Yeah, exactly.
And we've seen like what you can do with a deep threat with Tyler Lockett, and then imagine him doing the same thing with like
a guy like Metcalf. Yeah, no, I'll say comparing Metcalf and Lockett, I mean, yeah, the potential there definitely, he has the potential to be a lot better than like a Tyler Lockett in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so we'll transition a little bit to some quarterbacks. So I was already talking to Zach a little bit, like with some of the quarterbacks with Haskins, like Daniel Jones we mentioned, but out of the main three, adding Murray, the obvious choice, the number 1 overall pick, and we both actually predicted him to go first overall, so that was kind of exciting to see him go to Arizona. What kind of impact do you think he'll make in that first year? I mean, do you think he has a decent team around him? Like, do you think he'll actually like play up to expectations?
Yeah, Arizona Cardinals, I think they're going to be the most improved team this coming season. I think Murray, he's got the weapons around him. The Cardinals last year, they had a decent roster. They got David Johnson, who's a top 5 running back. He is one of the better receiving running backs in the NFL. And then they added some receiver help with Hakeem Butler. They got Christian Kirk last year, and then they got Larry Fitz.
You can't forget. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald's like the aging wonder. Like everybody
nice
thinks like this is his
blanket.
last year. Like every year is his last year, but he's putting up like crazy numbers. Like 2 years ago, he carried my fantasy team. He was like one of the top receivers in fantasy football. Like he's putting up the numbers, and he's definitely going to be that safety blanket for Kyler Murray. I think put him in the slot. Like he's not going to be a huge deep threat anymore, but I mean, put him in the slot. He'll get you like eight catches a game probably. It's going to be insane.
Only thing on that offense that's a little bit of a question mark is going to be the O-line. But if there's any kind of quarterback that can deal with the O-line that's letting through some pass rush, it's going to be Murray. He's going to be able to handle a lot better than Rosen did last year. So I think the Cardinals, they have a lot of potential there, and I do think he's going to make them a lot better from week 1.
Yeah, I mean, that was like one of my biggest arguments, like going with like the Murray versus Rosen debate. Like, yes, like their O-line is god awful, and like O-lines aren't something that improve overnight or like improve over one off season. Like there's a lot of pieces you need to have work out to like get a legitimate O-line. So if you're looking at the next couple years having a below average O-line, like what quarterback's going to benefit the most from that? Obviously Rosen was under pressure every single snap, really couldn't adjust to it too well. Again, very small sample size with that, but looking at what Kyler Murray can do, like mobility-wise, getting out of the pocket, creating plays when there's nothing there, I think that's something that Rosen really doesn't show or doesn't have, and I think Murray's going to be able to make things happen. Like,
I mean, we talked about Russell Wilson earlier. I think that's kind of a fair comparison. Past, not this year, but before that, he had an awful offensive line, but he was still making it happen. Kind of a similar quarterback type there with the way they're able to scramble, create plays. So I think we've seen it with Russell Wilson. I think Kyler Murray will be able to do a little bit of a similar thing there with Arizona. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like that's like my only concern with Arizona is just looking at David Johnson. Like you mentioned David Johnson, and like talent-wise, he's definitely like one of the top talents in football, I think, at the running back position. But the running back position is so like just reliant on that offensive line, and you can be a ridiculous talent, and that's why I'm excited or interested to see what Le'Veon does this year. That people take for granted the offensive line that Pittsburgh has and that Le'Veon's had the last couple of years. The Jets' offensive line isn't horrible, but it's definitely not like at that top level that Pittsburgh's was. But again, back to Arizona, like David Johnson, he's going to be a great running back for them, but as far as his rushing ability, it's going to be tough with that lackluster of an O-line. I think he's going to be more lethal in the passing game, very like short yardage passing situations, getting him like out of the pocket, wrapping around, and getting some just being another safety blanket, I think, for short yardage situations. But yeah, the running game will be interesting, and I mean the O-line's going to have to step up big time if they want to just make the offense more two-dimensional versus just everybody like waiting for Kyler Murray essentially.
For sure. I think the new coach is going to help with that a little bit as well. I mean, I watched a lot of Cardinals games last year, and it was painful to watch. David Johnson, pretty much every time he had the ball, it was just straight up the middle, so predictable. And he was being hit pretty much before the line of scrimmage every time. So hopefully Cliff Kingsbury can come in here, mix it up a little bit. He's got a new quarterback. Hopefully he can drop some new plays that'll work a little better with David Johnson, because he has the talent. They just got to find out how to give him the ball, give him some opportunities, and he'll make it happen. But I'm thinking he might have a bounce back season this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, that's like the new thing in the NFL, like the young offensive-minded head coaches.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's comparing this guy to Sean McVay, and I mean, I can see the comparison like big time, and I'm excited for it. I mean, I love Kyler Murray. I've been preaching the whole Kyler Murray #1 overall pick situation since it started becoming a thing, but I'm excited for Arizona. I'm just excited for football in general, if I'm being honest. So, I mean, we'll transition here a little bit. We're going to go to your team. We talked about Zach's Redskins in the back of his segment. Bringing up the Baltimore Ravens a little bit for you, man. So, the Ravens addressed a lot of the offensive side of the ball in the draft. They added some defensive help as well since they lost some talent in free agency, but adding Hollywood Brown, the wide receiver, with their first-round pick. Justice Hill, another running back to add with Mark Ingram, who was signed in free agency. What do you think about this offense, man? Like, they're clearly building around giving some help for Lamar Jackson. I mean, what are you most excited about? Are you still worried about anything?
Absolutely not. I'm so beyond hype for this season. The draft. Before the draft, I was really nervous about the Ravens. They traded away, or they didn't trade, but they didn't re-sign Mosley, Eric Weddle gone, and then they didn't sign Le'Veon Bell, so I thought that's what they were going for. But after the draft, I'm so excited. I mean, receiver was the glaring need in that offense. And they were actually able to trade back, gain a couple extra picks, and still have their choice at wide receiver. Every single one was still on the board.
He was the first one off the board,
I'm
right?
so happy it's not Metcalf.
No, I definitely agree. Like, a lot of people were saying it was like between Metcalf and Hollywood Brown, and I mean, I definitely had Metcalf in like that top tier, but Hollywood Brown was probably my #1 like wide receiver off the board. So I mean, it's good to see the Ravens got their choice essentially. Like, even
and Miles Boykin too.
Yeah, I'll say. I love Hollywood Brown. I mean, I think he's going to be a great asset for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, definitely. He's probably one of the top fits for Lamar out of all the wide receivers that were available. So I'm excited to see what they do there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just like a nice, again, like similar to Arizona. I mean, Lamar Jackson's in his second year, but that's a young offensive core that can just start to grow together. Like, you're not just adding pieces like here and there. Like, you're basically adding your pieces all at once. They can grow as a young core. You have Mark Ingram in there, more of like a veteran role, but I mean, that guy can still play. He's going to be a great power back for that offense. So
and then we got Justice Hill from the draft too. So Mark Ingram obviously is going to be the guy right now, but he is 29. I think he's on like a 3-year deal. Don't remember exactly. And I really believe Justice Hill is our running back for the future.
He's the next man up after that.
Yeah, he was an honorable mention in my steals of the draft. Partially, I mean, I'm a Ravens fan, so I'm a little bit more hyped up about him than most people, but I really do think he is our future running back, Gus Edwards. He's decent, but I don't think he is our future.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think we've seen like the full potential of Gus Edwards.
Yeah,
like,
I do too.
He's had some spurts against like some weaker rush defenses, but yeah, I mean, I think that was definitely good that they addressed that, getting like an upgrade at the position for sure after adding Hill and Mark Ingram there too.
Yeah, and then Jalen Ferguson is probably the player I'm most excited about on that defense. Really, they addressed every single kind of position that they needed to. Yeah, and then just a great pass rusher to hopefully fill a little bit of Terrell Suggs, Darius Smith's role.
Yeah, that's right. Suggs actually went to Arizona. I forgot about that move too. I mean, not as relevant as he used to be probably, but I mean, still a defensive leader, like a veteran leader there too. But yeah, I totally forgot about that move.
He'll be a situational pass rusher. Hopefully, he can make a couple plays for Arizona. I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so like we're looking like, I mean, we'll wrap up like AFC North, dude. Like I feel like it's only gotten more competitive after the draft. I mean, Pittsburgh added some huge needs, very similar to Baltimore. They addressed a lot of like their major needs. Trading up to get Devin Bush at the inside linebacker was their biggest glaring hole, trying to replace Shazier. So they got that piece. He's so good. He's going to make a huge impact. I'm excited, but Cleveland not going away either, obviously addressing some needs, getting Greedy Williams to address their secondary that I mentioned earlier in the show. So I mean, again, I'm just excited for football in general. Like, I can't wait to actually sit down and watch all the games, watch everything unfold, just really start to get into this whole thing. I mean, even just like, especially with heated sports, just analyzing the game of football, the NFL season, even college football too, I'm excited for. So, man, we appreciate you having you on, talking a lot of NFL stuff here. You guys are going to see a lot more of Kevin after the NBA season wraps up. Once the NFL preseason stuff starts up and gets into full swing, we'll have Kevin on a lot more. So, again, guys, we're just going to close it out there. So, thank you guys for tuning in to this entire episode of the Heated Sports Podcast. Once again, if you have any comments or suggestions for us, any topics you want to see on the show next week, feel free to let us know. DMs and all that stuff are always open. We have a comment section on our website, and feel free to check out our website with our weekly articles, www.heated-sports.com. And again, very active on social media, Facebook now as well, and Twitter and Instagram, @HeatedSports_ for both of those. Feel free to check those out. And guys, so our finals weeks are done. Full swing here for the summer, so expect a lot more content coming your way from now on. All right, thanks, guys. And again, we'll see you guys next Tuesday night. We're moved up to Tuesday, so we'll see you next week. Have a good day, guys.